This is one of the most important elements of quality test prep, and one that most parents don't know to ask about. If you've already watched my video on what is a standardized test, you've learned some about why the elements of a standardized test are relevant to test takers. And if you haven't watched that video, check it out on our YouTube channel. But another aspect of standardized tests makes use of official test materials essential for test takers, especially those whose brains are wired a little differently. So here's the deal. When the College Board or ACT is developing a new test, the questions are heavily scrutinized by experts in education as well as specific disciplines like math and reading. They're checked and rechecked internally. Then if everyone thinks they're a good question, they might be reviewed by an external reviewer. Then they're tested out on thousands of high school students. They want to be sure that the questions are reliable. Students who see the same question more than once get the same answer. That the questions are valid, the questions actually measure something meaningful that the test makers want kids to know. That the questions are unbiased. Questions should not get different results from different groups, like males versus females. And the questions should be consistent with previous versions of the test, so that colleges can compare students' performance over different test administrations, so that 32 on the ACT means the same thing across all test dates. All of that means the questions should be pretty consistent across tests, both in terms of content and wording. They shouldn't be confusing. There should be only one clear, correct answer. Because of this, students and tutors can confidently predict what might be asked, as well as how it might be asked. I've seen enough tests at this point that I just intuitively know if a test is the real thing or not. I try to use only official materials in working with students, but occasionally I'll use an unofficial book or two. If we use all of the official stuff I have, or a student has already invested in a book and wants to use it, it's always glaringly obvious to me they're not the real thing. The wording is odd, it feels like there's more than one justifiable answer. The difficulty is either too easy or too hard. Concepts that are never on the real test mysteriously appear on the fakes. You can just tell. Further, when the big companies offer their unofficial practice tests on high school campuses, they're doing it to get you to sign up. Those tests are sales tools, and they're not likely to give you an accurate reading of your skills. In my more cynical moments, I assume they're harder than the real thing to artificially lower scores. In reality, though, they are harder because the questions aren't always clear. Now, that doesn't mean that unofficial materials are never helpful. They can be a great resource for additional practice in a specific area. There are only so many official questions testing semicolons, after all. You need a supplement to get really confident you know what you're doing. But if taking full timed practice tests is part of your prep plan, and it should be, stick with the real test. Your scores from unofficial tests just don't mean much, if anything. Good luck.